الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن سار على سبيله إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. So tonight, inshallah, we'll be starting this from the book Bulugu Maraam, or continue from the book Bulugu Maraam, but we'll be starting from the new chapter, which is Bab al-Wudu, which is a part of the Bab of Tahara. So the Bab of Tahara that discusses various types of matters relating to Tahara, concerning water, concerning different types of utensils, regarding concerning Sifatul Wudu, Nawaqil al-Wudu, also al-Ghusl wal-Tayammum, Ahkam al-Hayd, and the likes. But we can somewhat rather than try to cover everything in this particular chapter or kitab. We'll discuss starting from Bab al-Wudu. Tonight, inshallah, also that the place that we're using, that we have some other guests, so we might hear some external noise. And this is due to that the place that we're using, that we have some external guests that are using, also sharing the building with us tonight. So that concerns the matter that before we have started concerning Ahkam al-Salat, we had discussed before then al-Adhan. And before we started that, we had somewhat a light discussion, a brief discussion regarding certain matters to Ilm al-Usul al-Fiqh, which is concerning to have an understanding for us regarding what is meant by terminology such as al-Wajib, or general concerning Wajib, Mandub, and the likes. But we didn't go into any much detail. So I'm going to do, inshallah ta'ala, with upcoming lessons, that at the start of each lesson, we might somewhat discuss concerning something related to Usul al-Fiqh, so we can understand how the ulama come to certain rulings and what are the sources that they're using. So Usul al-Fiqh and its benefit, which comes with benefits. So Usul al-Fiqh is after science that it is related to, it's like a wasila to ilm al-Fiqh. So it's a means in understanding how to extract rulings from the Quran and from various texts, from various sources. So it gives you principles and rules and guidelines that we should follow concerning how to use the text properly, and also how to identify what can be used as proof and dalil, what is said to be a form of dalil, can concern the qawl of the Sahaba a dalil or not a dalil. With me? Also concerning can we use as a proof, for example, Sharia man qablana, the Sharia, the laws of the people who preceded us, concerning nations that preceded us, can we use their Sharia as a proof? With me. So the general thing is to discuss concerning, so Usul al-Fiqh is to discuss concerning certain matters. And of those things that Usul al-Fiqh focus on is regarding one, identifying terminology such as what is wajib, what is sunnah, what is fard, what is makruh, what is haram. So to understand that in concerning the language of usuli, or in fiqh, what is meant by those terms, what is shart, what is prerequisite, as we will call it in English. So understanding those general terminologies and what comes with them. Because sometimes wajib also go into detail. Wajib, muwassa, concerning something may be far, but also you have some time limits. You have al-wajib mudayyiq, sometimes in wajib may be restricted. Fard kifaya, fard al-ayn. So to understand that also those things of fard and wajib, that will go into some also other discussion. Now, so how to apply those things in various situation and circumstance. So that's concerning one aspect of concerning Ilm Usul al-Fiqh. Also this Ilm Usul al-Fiqh, also of its benefits, that a person also is able to identify what is said to be masadir or adillah, what can be used as proof, what is said to be a legitimate proof in Islam. With me? So you have those proofs that are agreed upon, mujma alayh, or mutafqun alayh, or mujma alayh. Some of the proofs that can be used that is agreed upon, Quran, was sunnah, al-ijma, and also qiyas, as-sahih. But also detail, it's also, but also to identify those four, but give you some more detail as to how they are to be used correctly. With me? So that's us. Then you have that's one aspect of adillah. A second part of the adillah, mutafaqun فيه, those things which is disagreed upon. There's some discussion, can this be used or not be used? In general, they're generally used, but they're not said to be of primary adilla. But they are still adilla. So you have الشرع من قبلنا, مثل الصحابي, and the likes. Now, are those things from the adilla that can be used? And in most cases they can be used, but how they are to be used and when they can be used. Now, for example, a person might say the qawl of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, is that a dalil? Ahmad ibn Hanbal is from the tabi'in. No discussion between ulama that the qawl of a tabi'in is ever adilla. So we shouldn't have that discussion because it's not a part of any discussion. So for a person and you to have a discussion, is the statement of Ahmad ibn Hanbal a dalil, then that person doesn't know what the dalil is from the onset. Because they're discussing a matter that no one discusses. You with me? So meaning of that discussion is the qawl of Imam Shafi dalil. No one have that discussion. So meaning of that discussion, that means we are not understanding what is the dalil from the onset. With me? So with of usul fiqh, the person knows to understand what is dalil. Now, to identify what is legitimate dalil. Then also usul fiqh, the person knows concerning al-fadh, how to extract ruling from the Quran and the Sunnah correctly. Now, how to extract concerning a lot of stuff is based upon linguistic, using the language, the use of the language. So the person has to have a good grasp of the language regarding how to extract ruling. And as we said, no, that's the real of the understanding Quran and Sunnah. That's where that's the loop. That's like the core of how to extract ruling by knowing the language, because it plays a big role.
So it's fair to say a person that doesn't have a good grasp of Arabic.
Then he has a problem. Then he has limitation. Not saying he has a problem, but he has limitations. Better wording. He has limitations. So the more the person is have a proper grasp of the language, then it becomes easier. Then he has a better. Then his use, extracting thing become for him much more easier than a person who's restricted. Now, then of the other thing that a person has to have a grasp of regarding concern of other concerns, and concerning of those things concerning ta'arud. When there seems to be some conflict, how the person then navigate through those seem to be conflict.
To reconcile it.
To reconcile things.
So what was that word you used?
Concerning ta'arud, concerning tarjih wa ta'arud, concerning how to reconcile when there seems to be ta'arud. So you have tarjih, how to come to reconciling things, and also ta'arud when it seems, when it seems to be, there seem to be conflicts between adilla. So when to apply nasikh wal mansukh, when to make tarjih, when to know when adilla, when different forms of ultimate. So those are things that person, you need these tools regarding how to come to conclusions, to come to a final ruling. Now, because some people said, no, there's X amount of aqwal. But all those ulama are legitimate ulama. Ahmed, Shafi, Malik, Awzahi. You understand? So a person might say, no, a lot of times people might say, Imam Shafi take his view. Who is now you to come to have a view opposite Imam Shafi, Ahmed ibn Hanbal and this alim? That's not the issue at hand. Not that someone is openly trying to oppose an alim. But you may have other views that are there. That's how we know, you understand, that's how a person may have a different view, because there may be other views that are there from equally legitimate ulama.
And we've seen that in the early lessons.
You understand? So it showed that, and in fact those things, you see that it occurs a lot. So it's not about this alim is more senior, this alim is, you understand, it's about that there are other views in a matter that we should, you understand, and the core of coming to a final conclusion based upon dalil and understanding how to use dalil. You with me? So you may have a dalil, but if it is not being used correctly, then it is being used out of context. And we'll find that sometimes where you're in a qa'idah, but is that qa'idah, that principle, being applied properly as how it is set out to be used. Okay, may have the principle, but how it is being used is not what it was established for. So it's being used out of context. But the principle itself is there and legitimate. But if it is used wrongly, then you're misusing that legitimate principle. You understand? In a matter that does not connect to it, but of course, understand that matter. So, concerning the language and tarjiyah and ta'arud, regarding qawad al-istinbat, those things come into play. And as we said now, that's the core of ilm al-usul al-fiqh. Now, then you have also the other matter concerning being able to identify concerning who's the person who's equipped to apply these rules and identify adillah and know the ahkam. That's the person who's said to be a mujtahid. So what's the qualification? What would be the those things that the ulama have identified to be the sifat of a person, or the shurut of a man? What are the conditions that are in place to identify who's said to be a mujtahid? How can I identify that person mujtahid? Because there are certain rules that are there to say this person who fulfills certain criteria is said to be a mujtahid. Bear in mind that a person of ijtihad, because the ulama of old, they don't use the word alim. The books of they don't use the person alim or the alama or the faqih. They don't use those words. They use the word, the person, either you're mujtahid or you're not a mujtahid. You understand? The mujtahid is the person now who is of a level, and it may vary from time to time, that a person who is said to be of his era, a person is well equipped that he can extract his own independent ruling. That's a mujtahid. When a person on that level, that degree, a mujtahid in the time of Imam Shafi will differ in a mujtahid in the time of Imam Shafi 2nd century, for example, than a person in the 5th century, than a person in the 9th, than a person in the 14th century. You with me? So a person in our time who's said to be a mujtahid, in time of Imam Shafi, will be a student of Imam Shafi. You with me? So a person who's a mujtahid equipped in our time, our major scholars today, may be a student of the student of Imam Shafi. Because they are close to the time of the Prophet Islam, they are close to that era where things were somewhat, the rich, the golden days. Yeah. You understand? But the person today is qualified for the people of our century. But still, who said to be that person is qualified in our time? So today might hear a person, the mujtahid, a person, the alim, they use the word today. But in reality, what makes him that alim who is said to be that we can return back to him in certain matters? What does he need to be equipped with? You with me? So people may differ on those people based upon one, people whom we are acquainted with. And most of the time concerning for most people, the people that you are familiar with, there may be a person who's equipped, qualified, but he's not known to most, or to certain people, because we're not that familiar with who is who. You with me? Some people in their field, they're said to be people whom they are well established and known, but majority of the people don't know them. Or some people may not know them because those people are not, for whatever reason may be, they're not promoted as they should be. You understand? Their works may be restricted to people on a certain level, but for the lay people, for example, us in the West, may not know a person, but is equally qualified as anyone else that we may know of. So, usul al-fiqh, it aids the person to know who's a muqallid and what should be the role of a muqallid. So the person said to be not a mujtahid for them, you're either mujtahid or not a mujtahid. If you're not a mujtahid, then know your role and your place. And know how to stay in your, as they say today, stay in your lane. And not to exceed that lane. Not to go over
the speed limit.
The speed limit, your speed limit. Then that's how you find confusion. When a person comes outside his speed limit. So like on the motorway, you have the slow lane, then you have the middle lane, and then you have what?
Fast lane.
Then you have the fast lane. So the ulama, seniors are in the fast lane. And let's go with a certain speed. Then you have a person in the middle lane, that's the tulab al-ilm who have studied Islam, you understand, to a certain degree. But he's still not in the fast lane. So certain matters, you may not need to ask the people in the fast lane, because he can research himself or have studied those matters, or is equipped that he can do some further research to get a general idea. But there's things that he still is not allowed to enter. He has to look to those beyond him. Then you have the person who's in the slow lane, you understand, where for him, he has to know his lane and know his place and not to exceed this. But if the person in the slow lane go into the fast lane, you're going to have accident because they're moving too slow. You with me? And an accident could mean the entire roadway is blocked. Because even from slow to the fast lane, it does mash up, it will obstruct everything. But a person even from the middle lane and go to the might have those maybe one lane is blocked. But a person even from that's a problem normally. The person even from the slow lane and going to the fast lane, they just destroy everything. Because they have to go over the middle lane, they have to go over so that just disrupts everything.
But the reality is, some of those people in the slow lane, they're still in the hard shoulder, you know, the team reserve.
Yes, even amateur. The motor person is on that side, on the left side, and try to go too much and go straight to the right, then that does, you understand, it destroys everything. And that's considered the ulama mentioned, that's the problem of the person on the slow lane or the hard shoulders trying to think himself to be equipped for the fast lane. He destroys everything. Because the alim, remember the alim, the person that you can make error. But that error would be less compared to the person who's in a slow lane. Everyone make errors. When a person in the slow lane make an error and think himself equipped to go into the fast lane, he destroys everything. That's what I said, no? That a person never follows the person in the slow lane. You are equipped to can follow the alim because he's equipped and can maneuver around things. When a person in the slow lane, he does destroy everything. You understand? So if you find any set of da'wah that is there or teaching where the person leave from arch shoulders to slow lane go to over or beyond his lane, then it's destruction and chaos. Now, so I said now in usul al-fiqh and these type of science that help the person to weigh some things out to some degree. To weigh things out to some degree. So if we knew concerning fiqh, then maybe appropriate to discuss concerning matters concerning usul al-fiqh. Just give a general idea concerning how things work. For example, if I was to ask you, as a general thing, in a hadith, which a hadith is what? The statement of the Prophet ﷺ and what? His actions and his speech, actions and self-approval, silent approval are things done by the Sahaba. Or person like usuli, you understand? We'll go into detail regarding the Prophet ﷺ's statements will be things that he gave instructions to people. That's a statement. He's giving instructions. They see it as his statements. It's when he's what? Giving instruction to carry out an act, addressing others in giving instructions. His actions are things that he's what?
Doing himself.
Doing. But sometimes they include as action. Now, things that he's saying, but it is not addressing others. That's a part of his action. Even though it's by way, in reality, it's a statement. He's saying something, but he's not addressing others. For example, making of tasbih and all those things, dua, is an action. But it's by way of what? Statement, thing that he's saying. But because it's not addressing anyone particular, it is deemed to be from his action, even though by way of his statement. So they kind of they go into detail in certain things so the person understands clearly. So the person's hadith, you understand, study is to just gather everything which he said, and he did as action. Their thing, hadith, is to more to clarify regarding what is sahih and what is not. But also you will break things down so you can understand things regarding how to extract the rulings that will come from this. And put things in some order. Yes, usul al-fiqh, they go through some type of, not in entirety, but some type of changes or things were placed into it that needs to be removed. but it doesn't disqualify the science completely. And no one says the science is completely disqualified because of some additions that were placed upon it. And the same thing can be said about all other science. With me? But it doesn't warrant the science is complete to be dismissed and not to be used properly. And a person cannot be a mujtahid until he has ilm usul al-fiqh. Time? So we said that we can somewhat try to, a few minutes before we start, 5 or 10 minutes, may discuss one aspect of ilm usul al-fiqh. Now, as we go along, we ever listen. So, starting now today's lesson, they mentioned Bab al-Wudu from Kitab al-Tahara. So Kitab al-Tahara will consist of various sub-headings, those things we include concerning al-miyah, water, the different types of water, and that relates to Tahara. What type of water can be used or not be used regarding Tahara. Now, then it also discussed concerning concerning al-aniyah, which would be different type of vessels, containers that can be used and those that cannot be used, if it concerns a person, especially in those days that people would use and catch water in containers. In today we have taps and all those things, a bit different, but those things will be discussed. Now, can you use a vessel that is made of gold and silver? You understand? So they will go through those things as a part of Bab al-Tahara. Then they'll discuss concerning Tahara matters related to al-fitra and al-siwak regarding a form of proof concerning making al-siwak and al-fitra regarding those acts that are considered regarding that those matters that are deemed to be of the fitra regarding clipping the nails, the mustache, and those type of action, general concerns, like general hygiene. Now, concerning khitam, regarding matters that relates to the person's circumcision and the likes, so somebody will clarify those things, and that also relates to tahara. Now, and general hygiene. Then they will discuss concerning bab al-wudu, regarding what are those things that should be carried out regarding al-wudu, as a part of tahara. And nawaf al-wudu, and then other things that will somewhat discuss regarding the general. So the main thing for us will be al-wudu, and what relates to that particular topic, also ghusl, and what's related to al-ghusl, and then we'll see what comes after them. So tonight inshallah we'll start with al-bab al-wudu, bab al-wudu. So the word al-wudu, linguistically, and that intention not to go in dwell too much in it, but from the word al-wudu, linguistically from wada'a, concerning al-hasan wal-nidhafa. So the word by linguistic meaning, wudu, it goes back to mean, relates to matter regarding al-hasan or nadhafa, matter that relates to cleanliness. So regarding cleanliness, shar'an, in Islamic Sharia, in al-ulma of al-fiqh, هو تعبد لله بغسل الأعضاء الأربع على صفة مخصوصة. So Ibn Taymiyyah, and this definition they gave is one by Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. There's others, but they give Ibn Taymiyyah definition, mentioned that wudu, ta'abbud lillah, is a form of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, بغسل, by washing four limbs of the body in a specific order or specific way. So this is what is meant by al-wudu. Ta'abbud lillah, to worship to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by washing four limbs of the body in a specific order or manner, So rather than going to this different definition, that one suffices inshallah. We'll suffice with Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah of that definition. So of those masail that relate to Bab al-Wudu as an introduction, that the author here he mentioned as a matter to discuss concerning with Tahara and Wudu, he discussed of those first masail concerning that Ibn Hajar rahimahullah didn't per se mention in hadith or discuss it, which is understood regarding ishtirat and niyyah, regarding making al-wudu, does the person, is a condition that one must have a niyyah, an intention. Is it conditional, a part of wudu or not? Having an intention. So you find he mentioned that Jumhur, majority of the ulama, al-ilm, is of the view, position, that niyyah is a condition of the validity of one's wudu. So for one's wudu to be considered to be valid, one must have a intention. And that qawl, the Jumhur of the ulama, amongst the Jumhur of the ulama, we have Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmed, and many others. We just mention those ones because they are Imam al-Arba. We have Ishaq, Imam al-Layth ibn Sa'd, Abu Ubaid, Dawood, Al-Zahiri, Abu Thur, and others. So many of the ulama of hadith wal fuqaha, that they are the view that an-niyyah, intention, is a condition for a person wudu to be valid. And they're based upon this hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, that actions are by intention. Then is a second view, another view, of some of the ulama, طائفة من أهل العلم, that they hold that a person's wudu, ghusl, and tayammum doesn't require a niyyah. Does not require niyyah for it to be deemed valid. So it's not conditional for them. So they all know one's tahara, in a sense of al-wudu, wal-ghusl, wal-tayammum, those forms of tahara, that intention is not a condition attached to those actions. And of those, Ibn Mundhir, he mentioned of those who are of that view, he mentioned Awza'i, also a view of Imam Abu Hanifa wa Thawri, but there Abu Hanifa wa Thawri is of the view that it is valid for wudu and is valid for wudu without having an intention, but ghusl and tayammum doesn't require an intention. So you have our view, so the view of those that mention that, so you have that view of those who mention that it is not a condition. Now, you have a general view concerned by Awza'i that all those three acts of wudu, ghusl, and tayammum doesn't require intention as a prerequisite. Abu Hanifa rahimahullah also is of the view, and Athuri, that it requires an intention for wudu, but ghusl and tayammum doesn't require intention. So it can also make a difference, differentiate between certain actions.
Which two did intention? Which two did Abu Hanifa?
Ghusl, so Abu Hanifa and Athuri, they hold that niyyah is intention, is a requirement regarding al-wudu. But as for ghusl and tayammum, intention, having intention, the prerequisite is not a condition. And now rahimahullah can somewhat discuss there, but he mentioned they have no clear dalil or valid dalil to prove their point. They have no valid dalil to prove their point, as mentioned by and now rahimahullah. So the more correct view is that wudu, ghusl, and tayammum requires an intention. The next matter that comes with this concerning talaffuz bin niyyah. So we have discussed that before regarding salat, that regarding a talaffuz bin niyyah, that a person uttering his intention, is this something to be done? So uttering of one's intention. So the ulama mentioned that the intention, mahal al-niyah, the mahal of niyah is in the heart. The mahal, the place of one's intention is in the heart. But when a person wishes to carry out a specific act that requires having an intention, does the person need to utter that intention, or just having that idea in the heart is sufficient? So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah mentioned al-jahr, which is the person uttering his intention. Al-jahr bin-niyah la yajib, it's not something which is compulsory. ولا يستحب بالاتفاق المسلمين, and it is not something which is something to be done which is compulsory. No, it is something which is encouraged to be done. They mentioned bal al-jahir, the one who the one who expresses his intention openly, verbally, bin-niyah mubtadi' mukhalif li sharia. The person who does this, most of the act of the person mubtadi' mukhalif li sharia, and going against the sharia. So you want to act an act of bid'ah to do so. But even said a person that's considered mubtadi', the person mubtadi', but it's a general ruling. Yes, I mean that everyone who does it needs to be called a mubtadi'. Now, so the act of bid'ah, and it contradicts the sharia, goes in opposition to the sharia. Prophet Islam never once put his intention regarding al-wudu, al-salat and the likes. So sometimes a person who follows salat might put himself in a certain position, might fold his hands, or put his hand in this and may utter or put the answer, I intend to make wudu for dhuhr of rakat. Then that's has no place. Or intend to make salat al-isha of 4 rak'ah in Masjid and such, or that need not to be said, and to say it an act of bid'ah. So that's concerning that matter in brief. So that's concerning a niyah. So niyah is an intention. Niyah intention is of those is an act that is a must that relates to wudu, ghusl and tayammum. So that inshallah then we start to read the hadith that Imam Ibn Hajar rahimahullah have mentioned regarding tahara. More so specific concerning al-wudu. So he mentioned first the hadith of an Abi Hurairah anhu, and Rasul al-Islam قال, that hadith that he mentioned, what is it, the first hadith?
Narrated Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if it were not that I would burden my ummah followers, I would have commanded them to use a siwak, stick or toothbrush, along with every ablution, reported by Malik, Ahmad and An-Nasai. Ibn Qazaymah graded it Sahih, authentic, and Al-Bukhari mentioned it as a mu'allaq, broken chain from the side of collectors, i.e. Al-Bukhari.
Oh, that is in your book? Okay. So I mentioned regarding the hadith here, as I mentioned, it was read, لولا أنشق على أمتي لأمرتهم بالسواك مع كل وضوء. So that's the hadith that is the first hadith that is mentioned here by Imam Ibn Hajar rahimahullah relating to al-wudu. And this hadith kind of somewhat is of those things that sometimes the ulama will mention that adab al-wudu. So now person says after certain they will sometimes class as adab al-wudu. Just for example, you have something that mentioned as adab al-salat. So a certain type of thing that is of the adab, of the mannerism that one should, or the etiquettes of the salat or wudu, that one should be mindful of. Now, and of those things regarding, and this particular discussion concerning as-siwak. So as-siwak, the use of siwak is of the adab, of those things of the adab of al-wudu. That the author rahimahullah, he wished someone to bring to our attention. I mentioned Akhrajo al-Malik, meaning concerning Malik in his book al-Muwatta, wa Ahmad, wa Nasa'i, wa Sahahu ibn Khuzaymah. So as for this particular hadith, is to discuss concerning the use of miswak before or while in performing al-wudu. The use of miswak in relation with al-wudu. So they mention concerning al-miswak or siwak. As mentioned here, that so the hadith is discussed concerning to know that one, it shows the virtue of the use of the siwak in relation with wudu. So they show the virtue of highlighting the virtue of the use of miswak while making al-wudu. Also from the hadith, it shows concerning to know that the Prophet mentioned, "Lawla ushuk, lawla an ashuk ala ummati." That the Prophet mentioned that not placing difficulties upon his ummah. So Islam is not there to place burden upon people. Now, so burden is not a part of Islam, is there to place upon people. Now, regarding what Islam teaches or requires. But, so the Prophet Islam is trying to clarify his matter concerning his ummah. So, after things regarding al-miswak that they discuss here, so al-miswak or siwak is a particular type of is the use of what is generally known that siwak, that twig that may be called twig. It may vary from one country to another. So you have different type of what we refer to as general concerning siwak. Now it may vary from one country to the next. You understand? Where people use to generally to clean their mouth. Now, so that twig, the better of them is to be discussed, but it's that type of twig that is used more so as to clean off the mouth. The first that he mentioned here, hukum, the use of siwak. What's the hukum regarding the use of siwak?
Clean them out.
To clean them out, the use of this. The general he mentioned that Anna rahimahullah, he mentioned in as-siwak sunnah, that the use of siwak in general is act which is sunnah, whether with wudu or salat or any other occasion. So the use of siwak is a sunnah. ليس بواجب في حال من أحوال لا في الصلاة ولا في غيرها. That is not something which is wajib to use before the salat or wudu. So that is to clarify that matter, that is not something which is wajib, that a person has to use this method. Then the discussion regarding that Dawood al-Zahiri, and they mentioned that ijma regarding that matter, but they mentioned Dawood al-Zahiri, that is after use, consider the use of miswak, it is something which is wajib. Dawood al-Zahiri is after view concerning annahu awjabahu lis-salat, that Dawood al-Zahiri, that he takes the view that the use of the miswak before the salat is something which is wajib. But where you mentioned that لو تركه لم تبطل الصلاة, but if the person was to not use his salat, it does not need to be invalid. But على كل حال, then I understand, but as a general thing, that the ulama or the view concerned that the use of the miswak or the hukum of miswak, that is something which is not something which is wajib, a must to be done regarding salat or tahara. In the hadith, and the hadith somewhat is in line with that ruling. That is not a must to make the use of the miswak, but more concerned the encouragement for it to be used still, but still a form of encouragement for it to be used. Then they mention after this regarding miswak, and you have in books just to discuss about the miswak as a ruling that relates to the miswak by itself. Then you have certain awqat that is mentioned that is more preferred for a person to use the miswak. You have certain type of certain timings or certain time, certain occasion that is more preferred that the miswak is used. Of those timings that they mention, those particular timings, they mention one before wudu, as in this hadith, can someone encourage us that the use of the miswak before making of wudu, also before in the salat, before salat. Third, in the qiraat al-Quran, before reading of the Quran. Fourth, in the istiqaf min al-nawm, upon the person waking from sleep. So, waking from sleep. Fifth, in the taghayyur al-fam, when a person feels that his mouth is changing odor or the lights. That's the fifth. Aywa. After waking. So we have in the salat, wudu, qiraat al-Quran, waking up, when the month change of the breath of the mouth, odor. So those are what they mention. Also they mention concerning that those occasion, other occasion that a Prophet of Islam, before he will enter his house to meet his wife, and also he used the miswak. So those are some of the occasions. It's more preferred for the person to ensure that the use of miswak. Then the next matter to discuss regarding the miswak. Which hand should one use to clean one mouth, to cleanse, to use the miswak with, the right or the left hand? So in using the miswak, which hand should we use, the right or the left hand?
Good question.
Which hand?
I've seen that evidence to say the left as well.
When people say the left? So the same thing regarding the ulama, a discussion regarding which hand it is preferred so to be used, and I'm just going to off the leader. So they mentioned that Ahmad al-Hanbal rahimahullah, of those concerning that prefer the use of the al-yusra, the left hand.
Who said that?
So those who mentioned the right hand. Ahmed, use of the right hand. And others who agree with that.
Who said left hand, sorry?
I would say that which I just mentioned, right or left. Ahmed is more for the left hand. Ahmed is for the left hand. And those who mention concerning the left hand, they see it as the use of the left hand in the sense of izat al-adha, that is used concerning removing things of, the left hand is used concerning removing of things of filth from the body. Or that nature or things of that type. So things that is known that are unpleasant things from the body, they prefer the use of the left hand. So they see it as that the use of the miswak, it falls into this category. So they more give tendency to the person, like when you clean yourself, use your left hand, washing yourself, use your left hand. So I said, those type of unpleasant things, that left hand is the one that is more befitting for that. Then another view of Ibn Mulaqin that state concerns that prefers the right hand. Ibn Mulaqin mentioned that preferable concerning the use of clean of the mouth is in the use of the right hand. And I mentioned hadith concerning the Prophet, the hadith of the Prophet mentioned concerning that كان يعجبه تيمم, that he used to feel more preferred to use the right hand regarding certain things, regarding putting on his shoe, combing of his hair, tahara, and I mentioned وفي شأنه كله, and also for all his affairs. So that someone include that that concerns also the miswak, they put in that category regarding those matters that using of the right is more preferred. They give precedence to the right hand regarding that combing of the ear can be seen as, you understand, a form of the personal beautification. So the miswak also is of that nature. The person can somewhat help him to beautify of himself by cleaning of his mouth. So you have that way of how they look at it. Depending on which how you look at it, from the ulama regarding which hand to be used, but that's regarding afdaliyah, which is preferred. Those who give precedence to right and those who give precedence to the left. And both try to explain their stance, or why they come to that ruling. Both have some dalil that they can somewhat try to use in their favor. But even though it is not clear that those dalil is in that favor or that favor. So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah that come to a conclusion that he mentioned, Ibn Taymiyyah, he mentioned وَالْأَمْرُ وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدُ وَاسِعٌ. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah mentions now, whichever you do, it's okay. The matter in this, there's nothing specific, say this over that. Whichever way that you go, it is okay. Whichever way, right or left, whichever way you go, it is okay. He mentioned the reason concerned to them, لأن ليس في المسألة نص واضح. There's no clear proof regarding this way or that way.
Who said that?
Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. That's somewhat a balance. So whichever way, amr al-wasi'. Meaning that no, yeah, leeway in this matter. There's a leeway in this matter. If you go right, there's no harm. You go left, there's no harm. Wallahu alam, and that call seems to be balance. That call seems to be in between both. Even the author of our book, the explanation concerning Fathul Alam, mentioned, well, that he mentioned, istihbab bidalik al-yumna. He more inclined towards use of the right hand. The use of the right hand.
Whose explanation is that?
Fath al-Allam, one of the Mashaykh from Yemen.
What's his name?
I mentioned before, Azam, Ibn Hazam. Hazam. So that concerns that matter. So he's more towards more of the right than the left. But also mention that even the same view is also what goes regarding both ways are generally leniency in both ways. So that's concerning that matter. So the author rahimahullah, he mentioned is a form of first of the adab regarding as-salat. Of those things the person should be mindful of regarding of salat. Al-wudu. Regarding wudu, that of the things that is attached to wudu, some way is regarding the person also the use of al-miswak. Use of the miswak. And the person in salat is facing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a person when he's preparing himself to do certain things or to meet certain people, that a person prepare himself a certain way. So salat of certain adab of what a person should attire himself and prepare himself to meet his Lord, and wudu is also a part of that preparation, that a person also prepare himself a certain way of those things that ensure that his body is clean, his clothing is clean, and also his breath, his mouth also is pleasant to meet his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's concerning that particular matter that he discussed. Then we go to the next hadith. That that hadith is to discuss concerning of the thing that one should be mindful of regarding al-wudu, the use of al-miswak.
See, in contemporary times, like we have toothbrush.
What?
Can that be a substitute?
That's also that can be used to fulfill a general purpose. You understand? But some of the ulama, they still prefer al-miswak. They said that al-miswak it have other benefits. Yes, there's a hadith concerned to know that al-miswak, that mutahhar, they found that is a proof gives them also maradatan lirab, and also it is something which is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the use of miswak, that have a little higher degree than they said, no, the toothpaste and toothbrush, because it's something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with. Even the hadith sound the discussion, or some of the ulama, all the hadith to be hasan, but it can somewhat have a higher degree. But all those things fulfill the general purpose, which is keeping the mouth clean. So let's go to the next hadith. What time before we pray? 8 o'clock. So let's wait until what's the name? Arrive.
Somebody said he's away.
He's in work. He's in work.
He traveled. It's always in a lockup for us.
We got someone to come, but we can pray. What time are we going to pray? We can pray.
Hey, because now, we'll go to the next hadith, because it's now 10 after 8. We'll go to the start next hadith.
Can I stop to you?
How long do you think it will take?
With me sometimes, sometimes.
We can start, yeah.
We'll start and then we just come
to train.
Every train they come every episode, that's the train, it's not they come every so often, isn't it? 15 or 20 minutes, there's a train. So we'll go till 8:30.
Yeah.
Now, طيب. And next hadith.
Narrated Humran.
أيوة Humran.
What does he
Man
limited slave of
That's a Mawla. أيوة.
Man limited.
This is not one of them, right?
I didn't even heard of that one.
Man limited. Someone who's been emancipated or free.
Yeah.
Okay, slave of Uthman. Uthman radiallahu anhu for water to perform ablution. He washed the palms of his hands 3 times, then rinsed his mouth and sniffed water in his nose, and then blew it out. He then washed his face 3 times. Thereafter he washed his right hand up to and including his elbow 3 times. Then the left one in the same manner. Then he wiped his head with wet hands. Then he washed his right foot up to and including the ankle 3 times. Then the left one in the same manner. He then said, I saw Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam perform ablution, that is ablution of mine, agreed upon.
طبعا so the author رحمه الله Ibn Hajar that he mentioned second hadith of Humran أن عثمان that the hadith of عثمان بن عفان رضي الله عنهما ورد عنه الصحابي الجليل الخليفة الراشد. So regarding this hadith of Uthman ibn Affan, that this hadith generally gives us a general overview regarding sifatu al-wudu, how to perform al-wudu in a general way. Then the author rahimahullah, they will start to somewhat give us hadith that discuss these matters or different aspects of wudu bit by bit. So this hadith first gives a general concept, a general idea regarding sifatul wudu. As described, we find out of those hadith that gives a general description, the hadith of Uthman. So he mentioned this hadith of Uthman to give us that general idea regarding wudu and what is involved. So he mentioned that Uthman daha bilu wudu, which is water. So you have the word wudu wal wudu. Wudu al-fatha al-waw wa al-wudu bil-damma al-waw. Al-wudu bil-damma al-waw for wudu is concerning the act of making wudu. While wudu is the water used for that purpose. But that's just linguistic. Now, so it's the same thing as tahur and tuhur. Tahur and tuhur. Both are, the difference is by way of the, instead of tashkil, the waw, the vowels, so you might read the vowels, those waw or fat or kasra, sometimes that can have a great impact on a word and how it is understood. Because the general concern of Arab, they didn't have these fat, these fat or kasra and all those things.
Yeah, the
vowels that we call them, you understand? But some word, if you don't understand, you might pronounce it wrong because some word they may be different, but they look alike. You understand? The exact, the form of the word is the same. But depending on how it is
structure in the sentence. Structure in the sentence.
And so that how it is, how the person may pronounce certain vowels may have a different, complete different impact on the meaning. How you understand that how the word is understood.
So in the case you're mentioning, one is the description of the act and one is the act.
Yeah, so they have that. So you have those things. So, but that's specific for linguistic. But with today's time, you can certainly have all the tashkil, as they call them. That makes it much easier. But it says no, sometimes as we said, the language, you understand, it has a role to play regarding understanding the text. You understand? So the language have a very important role to understand the text concerning Quran or Sunnah. Now, so the person who's more skilled in that area, you understand, it makes it much easier for him. Make it much easier for him. Regarding so they mentioned concerning al-wa bil-wudu فغسل كفيه 3 مرات. So the hadith can somewhat mention regarding the wudu that one is start concerning kaf, that ghasl al-kaffay up to the wrist 3 times, without the mention ثم مضمضة واستنشق واستثمر, and they mention that go to concerning washing the nose and the mouth. So this is a general outline, without saying what is what and what is not. Because given us from our Prophet started in most part and what he ended with regarding the wudu. So some of these matters, some of the ulama who have said that, for example, that niyyah is not a condition for wudu, they said this hadith doesn't mention anything about niyyah. Now, so they said no, there is no mention regarding identifying about niyyah. Also, for example, to be discussed regarding starting the wudu. Do we start with anything to be said before? That wash goes immediately in washing the hands, or there's any other act before this? This hadith didn't mention anything before washing the hands, is it? So is there anything else to be done? As we discuss later, there are some hadith I mentioned about saying Bismillah. Now, so that's the next list. So, but as for this hadith of Uthman, it doesn't mention about saying Bismillah as anything to be done before washing the hands. Now, so those discussions will come separate later, but this hadith gives us a general discussion and description, and the hadith in the Bukhari Muslim. Now, so it can someone washing off the hands up to the wrist, then madmada, واستنشق واستنثر ثم غسل الوجه ثلاثة, and المضمضة والاستنشاق. He didn't mention in this hadith how many times. Did it mention in your book how much time concerning madmada, washing the nose and the mouth? You mentioned in your book 3 times.
Yeah, so 3 times. Then he rinsed his mouth and sniffed water in his nose.
Then he rinsed his mouth and sniffed water into his nose and blew it out.
And he mentioned 3 times in your book?
No.
He mentioned the hand 3 times.
He mentioned the hands 3 times. Then we said, okay, madmada, we said madmada.
He mentioned that 3 times.
And he said, didn't mention, so, you understand? So, we to understand what? Once.
It's sufficient.
You understand that once is to be done. Because when he said washing the hands, he mentioned 3 times. So he mentioned that this 3 times the person is to do his hands. Then he mentioned madmada, wastanshaqa, wastanthar, and he didn't mention how many times. So that goes back that you understand once. You understand? Because he didn't mention how many times. So you understand that then this thing is to be done. If he didn't mention only, then to be done once only. With me? Then mention والوجه 3 مرات. وجهه 3 مرات. Then mention washing his face 3 times. So he didn't mention a repetition regarding washing out the mouth and the nose. Now they mention الوجه 3 مرات. So you understand that there's a repetition. Now, so it went on concerning ثم يغسل يدي اليمنى إلى مرفق 3 مرات. So something he mentioned 3 times. Most of the acts. So from the hadith, they'll give us a general overview regarding that there's a repetition in certain things. But in certain things, there's no repetition, possibly. After that, the nose and the mouth. With me? Based upon what is mentioned in the hadith. So this hadith, it gives us a general breakdown of the acts of wudu. But does it goes into everything? No. There may be other hadith that may goes into other things. But this hadith gives a general breakdown of wudu, the act of wudu. And as I mentioned that, and for example, we mentioned al-kaffay 3 مرات, al-wajh, wajhu 3 مرات. Well, so those things that are mentioned 3 times, is it for us to understand that these acts that are mentioned 3 times, that's the compulsory component of the act of wudu? Because certain can emphasize 3 times, and something it seems as if is mentioned like to be done, but only once, because it didn't mention it being repeated. Look at the hadith for what it is worth. With me? So, as I said, sometimes understanding a text is not just to take one hadith and then come to a final conclusion. So in certain things, that to come to a final conclusion, the thing for the person, the alim, is to kind of gather everything on that topic to then come to a final conclusion. Because some hadith may mention certain things and others might give you something additional, give you more clarity on that thing. And you only can come to a final conclusion by putting all the pieces of that puzzle together. But having one piece or two pieces may not be sufficient. Now, so I said that as a general thing that, so regarding certain many acts of those acts of Islam, of acts of ibadah, that the person until have a full picture by knowing everything related to that particular puzzle, then the person has to be mindful to how he comes to a final conclusion. Now, so this hadith of Uthman, because he said some things are mentioned 3 times. And it seemed as if he mentioned those because it has some significance. And some things are mentioned what? Once. But are we to understand from the hadith of Uthman that washing the face 3 times is this wajib to be done? We only can know that by looking at other hadiths. Now, to put everything in a proper, full order. Now, so that's also so that those things are to mention, so as I understand that how to understand the text now is not sometimes just to look at something in isolation. One text in isolation. The first step would be to gather everything on that particular matter, and then you start then to come to final conclusion, but not to just come to one text and then come to a conclusion. You might be harming yourself. We might be harming ourselves having that approach. And that's considered the role of the alim. That now he will understand the alim have gone through the process of, he have looked into matter in thorough and know all the things that relates to it. He have gone through that process. But for believe, but you understand, as a person who is starting process, then you start at your level. Then you also said that we go back to what was the start we mentioned before regarding on the highway you have shoulders, hard shoulders. We have and hard shoulders for
Me.
Now so that general for like a car uses on the road, hard shoulders for
People are breaking down.
People are breaking down. You understand? There's something that you understand you can't really. There's something to you can't really go into the road yet. You're not road worthy. You understand? So before you move out, you can't even move because there's things that you have to consider before moving out. So you know that you have to check certain things out first. Then when you move out, then you first go into the slow lane. You understand? Then you build up speed. Now, so it says no. So it said for the beginners, you have books that's related for the beginners. You move slow. Then the person then starts to build up speed, then you go now into the middle lane. You have your certain speed, so now you have gone through certain things. And it says no, then you have books for that purpose, and those books, for those purpose, it's not for me just to read Babu Tahara, and then I go into the middle lane. No. It's for you, for example, a book in fiqh, for example. You read from the beginning of that book, even though it's a beginner's book, from beginning through to the end. From the first chapter to the end chapter. If you haven't gone through this, then you might go through Babu Tahara, might go through Babu Salat, Babu Siyam, but you haven't gone through Babu of Nikah. You haven't gone through Babu of Hudud. You haven't gone through the Babu of Al-Buyu. Or Tijara. So you're still what? Naqis, you're still not complete. You're still handicapped. Even though you have done something, but you haven't gone through, so you have a full picture, even though you're on a beginner stage. So the beginner, ideally for him to go through from A to Z. For a book that is set out for beginners. And it's set out in a way for beginners that is suitable for beginners. But still, you're the talib, you have to go through from A to Z in your lane. And book in Aqidah is like that. Book in every science you find books are set out for each lane. So for you, that's it. No, today you have books that in the West you don't find. Not many people who speak as if they're in the fast lane, even matters of Aqidah and pass a book on people. Okay, in a book in Aqidah, which book in Aqidah you read from beginning to end? To understand matters of Aqidah, there are about 20-something or 30-something areas you have to cover. 30, close about 30 different areas you have to cover in Aqidah to have a full grasp, a proper idea of the things that you need to know. So in Aqidah, we cover about 30 different areas. If you have to cover those areas, some books may give you 17 of those, for example, 30 areas, 30 different matters to be covered. If you have done 17, you haven't done the full thing, is it? So if you cover all those things, you're still maybe a bit handicapped because you haven't, even on a beginner's level, covered all those areas. For the person who isn't a part of a talib. And every science is the same thing. Ilm al-Hadith. It have over 100 different areas to cover. Over 100 areas. Ilm al-Hadith cover over 100 areas, more than 100 areas concerning the different topics of Ilm al-Hadith. Jar al-Ta'dil is one of them.
Wow.
Jar al-Ta'dil is only one of 100. So if you go into Jar al-Ta'dil and don't go into the other thing that is related to it before it and after it, then you're handicapped. Or you go into Hadith al-Sahih, but I've gone to other things, you're still what? Handicapped. Until you have covered what? Everything. So to come out whole, you have to go through everything. If not, then you're still handicapped.
So stay in your lane.
So you need to stay, so you have to know your lane. And if you go outside your lane, then for sure you become, the Prophet mentioned that comes not that qabl in what? The qabl ulama. That not removed by the death of the ulama. Did they mention ittakhadha an-nas ru'usan juhal? People are taken as leaders who are juhal. To lead them regarding matters concerning deen. فَسُهِلُوا وَأَفْتَوْا بِغَيْرِ ilm. So when those people are put as leaders, or put themselves as leaders, who are not equipped, who are juhal, then what will come the consequence? Suhilu, they'll be questioned, وَأَفْتَوْا بِغَيْرِ ilm. They'll give response without knowledge, because they're not properly equipped. But they have something, they have maybe studied a book, but they're still not what? Fully equipped. What will come the response? Adallu wa adallu. Carnage.
Roadblock.
Yes, and then accident all over the place. You with me? Accident's going to be all over the place. It may be not immediately, but eventually the person is going to crash. The person will crash. The person who's driving cannot drive, may still steer a car for a little while. But eventually, you're going to crash. You with me? And that's what we're finding something, you see that, you understand? So, and that's what Islam, if things are not in place, you're going to crash at some point. Maybe 5 minutes down the road, 10 minutes, maybe an hour down the road, but eventually you will crash. You will crash. So it says, no, so it says, understanding things, that you have a full picture, and that's by either, you understand, there's the ulama, so Ibn Hajar rahimahullah first want to give you a general picture of what is wudu. Then everything will be broken down in pieces, bit by bit, as we go along. So all those bits now put in perspective. You have a general idea, but then still all those pieces have to be put in proper perspective, a proper understanding regarding each of those bits. Washing the face, what does this mean and entails? The nose, the hands, all that will come separately with more detail. So that's concerning, 1 minute remain. So inshallah ta'ala, so we start to go through now all those bits, inshallah ta'ala, next week regarding ahkam of wudu.
Has he put in the order that he needs to put in?
Yeah, that order will come. So this also says, they start to go through each bit one by one. So next hadith, for example, we read the next hadith.
Narrated Ali radiallahu anhu regarding the description of the ablution of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wiped his head with wet hands one time. Reported by Abu Dawud, Al-Nasa'i, Al-Tirmidhi, reportedly with the Sahih.
And so now we start, they start negotiating bit by bit of the, with certain things, starting with, you understand, different parts of the body to be washed or to be wiped. But each bit will go, you will go to each of them separately, type of things. You have a general, holistic view of, or detailed view of, different aspect of the wudu as we go along. But at first you give a person a general idea, then to start to discuss things, dissect things, piece by piece. So that inshallah we'll stop there for today, and next week we'll meet again next week. We'll meet again next week?
Inshallah.
Okay.